I'm Jared Hillam. There is a lot to love about the data mesh framework, but there's also a lot about data mesh that is just simply idealistic thinking. So at the risk of getting hate mail, I want to expose where the skeletons might surface while you're implementing a data mesh in your organization. This doesn't mean that I think the framework is a bad framework, but rather that you need to know where you'll need heavy emphasis during its implementation. Now, if you've seen a lot of our data management videos, then one of the things you'll notice is that the human element can sometimes be the biggest barrier to success. Data mesh proceeds with its entire framework on the premise that people will be able to adopt the mentality of data as a product. Now, I actually love the mental framing of data as a product. That's not where its weakness lies, because the mental reframe is actually very good. However, one of the more uncommon traits among people is their ability to build successful products. Clay Christensen from Harvard Business School had studies showing 95% of new product launches just result in failures. So in practice, what happens is that people come up with a mediocre product and the data doesn't get really used and the company is just too complex to do anything productive about it. The other challenge is that the interpretation of data as a product is often not exactly clear, so what data managers often deliver is inconsistent. So one might be giving out raw data, another might be giving out highly aggregated data, while the end consumers might need something entirely different. Now, on the receiving end, this can also result in recipients asking just for all the raw data because they just don't trust the product managers will map the data correctly. This means that you end up with multiple parties conforming the same data multiple times, which creates opportunities for data quality problems and conflicting downstream analytics. This gap in mapping is a serious problem, and I want my audience to drill this into their heads. Somebody has to conform the data. If they want analytics to represent the business, it has to be conformed. This problem hasn't been solved by automation. There are tools to help, but this still requires human interventions. So how do you deal with the gap? One of the practices at Ness is to drive all the data architecture decisions through an adaptable shared framework. This adaptable template allows for the framework to be centrally defined so product managers can work from a standard. Things like naming conventions, data loading and aggregation standards, access controls, and even data modeling are all centrally defined before product managers start building out their product. This also gives the product managers a measuring device to determine whether they are delivering their product to the right specifications. This way, all the loose coupling doesn't result in a ton of downstream work for the people that need to use the data. These act as part of the centralized governance assets in the data fabric framework. Now, I've written a white paper that describes the foundations of what needs to be delivered technically within the data mesh, so it can service both the low grain and high grain data consumption needs across data products. Also, if you're working on adapting a data mesh for your organization, I recommend reaching out to Ness and setting up a strategy with us so we can help you build the templating for your product managers.